It's a certified winter wonderland out here. I've plowed twice today, and I'll probably have to do it one more time. Good thing about the weather, keeps your iced tea cold. Hey, Sean here, Mountains Garage. Welcome back to a snowy Monday, another no school day here in the state of Maine. Last Thursday night, they canceled school for Friday. That storm gave us about 5 or 6 inches, and it was hovering around freezing, and the snow was all stuck to the trees, and typically the next day it'll fall out when the sun hits it. It never did. So it was already a winter wonderland the entire weekend, and then last night it started snowing in the evening. They once again called off school at 7 p.m., which I think is awesome. The jury's still out. It's new. As a kid, I never remember that happening. I don't ever remember it happening up until now. So, but hey, it gives you an opportunity to plan ahead at least. So, I plowed when I got up this morning. As soon as I walked out the door, again, it was hovering around freezing again, but still snow, so it's wet and heavy. And as soon as you spin the tire on it a little bit, it is grease. So I have 3 hills I have to plow up. I put the plow in V, lift it up a little bit so the weight of the snow pushing down on the front axle. If the blade's on the ground, you don't get as much traction. So I managed to get out to the road. Once I get out to my road, I can plow downhill as long as I can back up the hill to do that a couple times. And I struggled a little bit. I should be chained up by now, but I'm not. A lot of winters I don't have to put the front tire chains on. They're a rough ride, probably hot on the tractor, but it sure beats getting stuck. So anyway, I plowed twice today, and it's getting kind of bright out. Maybe it'll taper off by the end of the afternoon, and I'll only have to clean up one more time. So my biggest concern is my package from Strange Engineering that's already in Massachusetts, and I believe it's going to be here tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. They don't mess around. They shipped it out Thursday night, so yeah, we'll be looking at a big box of parts. That's exciting, but today we're working on my Crossmember. Now, just a few minutes ago, before I fired up the camera, I thought I'd be a genius and mark it the same length as the one that does fit in the chassis that didn't have enough drop. And I marked it, and then I remembered I wanted to call JMR to get a new U-strap for my 1 5/8 die that I bent yesterday and poked my finger and wasted lots of time doing. So I called up JMR, and I have a knack for getting the owner. I recognize his voice at this point. And told him who I was and what I did. And he says, over the course of every year, they sell 400 or 500 replacement U-straps. And out of that 400 or 500, maybe a handful will admit that it's their fault. I don't get the big deal. I made a mistake. I was concentrating on trying to get the middle without wasting my piece of tubing, and I didn't notice, after having the pin in and out a few times, that it didn't go down all the way. It has serrations on it, and if you don't look at it every time, so be it. But he made a really good point. A lot of the rotary draw style benders, they think it's better to be stood up vertical instead of horizontal. Coming from a vertical style bender, a different type, the affordable bender, but I was looking forward to the horizontal action just for the sake of the pins being, having gravity working on your side. And everything's laid out. I think it's easier this way. I have no desire to turn it up the other way, but the ones that you do turn up the other way, you're much more likely to not have your pin all the way in. So anyway, I have marked it before I made the phone call. And then I walked back over, grabbed my Milwaukee skill saw, and decided to turn around and come the other way. And in my head, I was gonna, leave the mark. But now that I've turned around, I've cut it exactly the length of the other one, which should be okay. But I prefer to leave myself a little bit of come and go. So Then I took a straight edge and just kind of, as a visual reference, have marked the inside of the cope. So people were interested in seeing the notching process, at least one of the notching processes. So now that we've got that marked in length, I'm going to take my super high-tech marking device. Just kind of line it up. I'm only going to do here and here, and then flip it over and do here and here. And now, in between those is my middle. Now, give me a second. I got to turn on the American rotary phase converter because my jet lathe, can you see me? My jet lathe is 3-phase, so it does not start on single phase. The whole lathe is powered up. I just turned on the power, but without starting the rotary converter first, it's not healthy for it, that's for sure. So let me do that. I'll be right back. All right, it's kind of loud with the phase converter running, but you can see I've got the tubing in here. That's my 1.5-inch cutter. I normally run this blower that my buddy Charlie gave me, but just for this operation, it's gonna be loud enough without it, and I don't have to go very deep on my cope, so let's go for it. Make sure we're backed out. Always make sure this spins no problem. I went approximately to my mark, and when I hit that in the belt sander, it's going to look good. Now I'm going to flip it around, and I hope you can still see me. I use a piece of tubing just to make sure I'm still horizontal, so it matches up. I'm going to keep going, see what happens. I kind of half wiped off my mark, so that's why I double check with the piece of tubing. There we go. Back this out, make sure we're super tight. Fire two. All right, I'll go dress it up in the belt sander and see what it looks like in the car. And believe it or not, it fit the first try with some minor tapping with my favorite orange dead blow hammer. I'm still way delinquent on removing the aluminum interior and shining up at least the inside of the frame rail so I can eventually attach this stuff. So that needs to happen sooner than later, but days like today when I get a few minutes, I just want to accomplish something. So now with the drop of this cross member, I clear the transmission without hitting it. I can get to the back bolt of the pan. The only casualty is my current dump valve bracket that I made, which bolts to the governor cover. It's probably going to hit the cross member, but that's not a deal breaker, and I was never really in love with it anyway. Not even sure I'll even run the dump valve. I was just experimenting in plumbing. So now I have about 3 1/8 from the back of the cross member to the back of this gold part of the mount. You'll notice the mount has a bulge in it that faces rearward. it's offset. So now with a little bit of cardboard, I'll see if I can dream up a pretty looking bracket. And the reason for the big gap is my floor X, which has to go in next, has to be as long this way as the frame rails are wide, which puts the floor X right into this notch, which will be strong and satisfy the rule book. That'll be the basic concept. I think I want to extend the middle so it goes up over the top a little bit. And I'll probably put a support somewhere in the middle of it too. Lightweight. I have about 6 more cases of Baldwin Turbo 400 screen type filters. A never-ending supply of thin white cardboard. Well, white on one side. Raw material. The stuff dreams are made out of. Out in the tan box, where I have all my chassis tabs and stuff like that, I did find this transmission mount, but the bolt pattern is too wide. It would fit just on the Turbo 400 tail housing, but I'm not going to do that. I did find my steering column extension, weld together, Rick Jones Racecraft or Quarter Max. So I'll be cutting down the steering column, so I'm still just sitting in there the other day inside the car. Really uncomfortable. So I laughed when I said lightweight because I'm still dreaming of building a different brake pedal. I'm happy with that one, but it's too heavy. Excuse me, everything I build them. Try to draw the line between race car and street car. So, and outside in the tan box also where I keep all my, it's my speed shop. With my transmission mounts, I made this a long time ago, just a little cardboard template, but it has the right spacing for the mount bolts. So it's repeatable, and somehow, amongst all the chaos, I hang on to that because I put it in a safe spot. So believe it or not, I got to go plow again and make dinner. I think I'm going to make spaghetti. So kind of a short video today, but that's okay. I had a couple hours to kill. That's what it takes to shoot 10 minutes of video. Take it easy, and I'll see you probably tomorrow.